8. My name is Maggie. I'm number 4. Growing up, I was a classic middle child that kind of sputted into someone that loves attention, which is really weird for a middle child, so don't really know what happened there. I love awkward things. I have to love awkward things because my life is super awkward. So that's just kind of all you really need to know about me, because you'll probably discover it within 5 seconds of me talking. So I'm going to talk about gratitude, and kind of the caveat to me being here is that I really don't like the word gratitude. In fact, when Debbie asked me to do it, I was kind of like, oh, really? Like me? I don't know if I really feel called to do that. And she's like, great, you can do it. I was like, great, okay. I just feel like gratitude at this point has become such a kindergarten virtue. We've kind of made it a kindergarten virtue. It's kind of something that you learn to be grateful, you learn to say please and thank you when you get something, and then you just kind of forget about it after that. It's not something that we really talk about, and it just seems very elementary. So I'm going to start kind of just with where I'm at, and I'll give you a preface for why. I just graduated college in COVID. My life is not what I thought it would be like. I was dating last year. I thought I might be doing something serious. I'm living at home right now, but I'm supposed to be in New York City. There's just a lot of things for me that are kind of a little bit disheartening. One of them being that I was gone for 4 years, and now I'm here, and it feels like I have to figure out community. I'm sanguine and choleric. I love temperaments, and that means I'm a people person and an action-oriented person. 2 things that are impossible during COVID. So you're probably thinking like, what the heck? She's literally starting off a gratitude talk complaining, and you're right. I am. I'm doing it though for the purpose of saying, so that you can't walk away saying, she can be grateful, but I can't. Because I think that's like a lie, that somehow we all believe in some facet that, someone is more capable by way of whatever is going on in their life, that they are capable of just being grateful, and I'm not, but no one can really say that. So it did sound like I was complaining, but so the topic of gratitude. Why do we talk about it? I mean, really, it seems it's so self-explanatory to some extent, right? It's you either say thank you or you don't. You either think like you're going to be grateful for something or you're not. I'd like to start with some scripture. We have from Psalm 136, verse 1. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever. Then we have from Thessalonians 5:18. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will in Christ Jesus for you. So this isn't just something made up that we're told. It's literally the will of God that we be grateful. Okay, so we know that. That's 1. 2, we owe it to Jesus. Whether you think this way or not, everything in your life you owe to the Lord. Be it good or bad, whatever experiences you've had, you owe it to the Lord. Just today I shared the gospel. I don't know if any of you were able to go to Mass. The gospel today was on the 10 lepers who were healed by Jesus, and only one of them returned and fell at the foot of Jesus saying, thank you. In that passage, Jesus says, 10 were cleansed, were they not? Where are the other 9? Has none but this foreigner returned to give thanks to God? Then he said to him, stand up and go, your faith has saved you. So 1, we know that Jesus said it. He said that we have to be grateful, and then 2, we know that we owe it just by way of everything in life is a gift. The Lord has given us everything. We owe it to the Lord. And I think one thing that we can forget too is that the reason why it's important to talk about it, and this is really the pressing thing, is that culture is fighting us on this, essentially. We are being fought against and trying to be grateful. Be that in social media, it's a constant comparison game. You're constantly told, we're kind of set up to just be swept up into this mentality of never enough. I never have enough. Just recently, Grace Benz was home. I know some of you know Grace Benz. Grace is one of my best friends. I love her. And we, a while ago, discovered that we share a very intense struggle together. We discovered that we both really struggle with body image. After I don't actually even know how that really got brought up, but we became kind of accountability partners to each other in this struggle that we just both really have a really hard time with this, and we are constantly comparing just ourselves to other people. So she was just home, I think, last weekend, and we were going on like a 9-mile run, because we're weird, and we just had lots of time to talk, and running and jogging and like taking breaks. And we were talking, and we were bringing up kind of this, our progression through this journey of struggling with this. And we were realizing that it's so easy to fall into this temptation. It's so easy to fall into a temptation where you see a severe lack in your life, but you can't see it in anyone else's. I can look at Grace, and I've told you this before, her telling me that she struggled with that was like, what? Like, I can see why I struggle with that, but I cannot see why you struggle with that. It's so easy to recognize in others what they have to be grateful for, but it's really hard to see it in yourself. That's in beauty, that's humor, just whether people like them or not. It's just easy to see other people's lives and just totally ignore the fact that they would also have things that they struggle with. So I'm going to share a little bit kind of back on that too. So we were talking about this and I was like, yeah, right. And so we started talking about this story that I recalled. I was in a wedding this summer in Arkansas, which is a real state. I just proved it for myself. It's kind of weird. I really should go to the state of Arkansas. Not what I expected. So I hopped on a plane, and it was super early in the morning. I think either the sun was rising or it was setting. It was rising. Sorry, it was rising. It was really early in the morning, and I was sitting on the way back of the plane. The bathroom smelled terrible. Like, I was literally up against it, and it smelled terrible. The lady kept coming back. She felt bad for me, and I was like, it's fine. And I was like kind of in a bad mood. I don't know if it was just early or whatever. And this little boy and this mom come back, and I can see them kind of from a ways off walking to the back of the plane. And I see that he is blind. It's pretty obvious. He's like being guided by her. He's can't see. And she walks into the back, and she opens the door for him, explains where things are, and then goes out and sits down in the seat and waits for him. He comes out, and she is like, okay, well, I'm going to go to the bathroom. You can either walk back and stay here. And I'm totally eavesdropping on their whole conversation, obviously, because I'm telling the story. But I go, I'm watching this boy kind of deliberate, and finally he's just sitting there, and his mom's in the bathroom, and he decides to walk back. And he was going to use the seats to count, I think, and what happened was he didn't count right or something, and he hit someone's face on accident, and the guy got kind of mad when he realized, I think he felt bad, I didn't realize he was blind. And this little boy starts kind of tearing up in his eyes, and super frightened. He's just so frightened because he's lost count, and now doesn't know where he is, and eventually people help him get back to his seat. And I started bawling, and I couldn't control it. Really, it was really embarrassing. I was messy crying in the back of the plane, and I couldn't understand why. I was like, wow, that just moved me. I felt bad for him. I felt pity for him. But on top of that, I'm looking to the left. I'm looking out my window seat, and the most glorious sunrise is happening right now. I see the clouds, the colors, the hues are gorgeous, so beautiful. And I'm sitting there, and it's sobbing. My vision is blurry because I realize I've never even thought twice, really, to thank the Lord that I have the capability of sight, ever. It's never even occurred to me to be grateful for something that my body is doing what it's supposed to be doing in order to see. And so I had that experience, and it meant a lot to me, and then I obviously got off the plane, went to the wedding, and it was great. And I kind of forgot about the event until a week later. I had gotten some pictures back from the wedding, and again, this is kind of tied into this body image thing. And I was like, wow, it's just so easy to look at this picture and think, I'm the fattest bridesmaid. What? This is so embarrassing. And I was thinking really negative thoughts, and I kind of was just spiraling into this kind of dark spot of why do I always stand out in this way, that's an unhealthy vision, by the way. So I'm thinking this, and I'm really getting myself upset about it, and it's 1 in the morning, and I'm still crying about it, and finally I was like, I'm going to get on my knees, and I'm going to pray. So I got on my knees, and I actually ended up kind of curling up into the ball, on my knees. And I decided, I was like, okay, I don't really know what I have to be grateful body. Like, I'm going to pray over each part of my body. And slowly but surely, I kind of sat there and I just kind of would pray with my arms. I was praying over my legs. And I was thanking the Lord, like, wow, I feel the muscles in my legs. I can run 9 miles. That's amazing. I was just going through different things, and it was like slowly just, I was like, the tears were just being sucked up, and I had this like, just insane surge of, wow, my body feels no different to me, but something has changed, and it's my perspective of being able to see myself through this light of gratitude. So, I think that something that I'm learning, as is evidenced by me explaining this whole thing, is that I'm actually really bad at gratitude. It's very easy for me to kind of get sucked into this mentality of just seeing things seemingly for what they are, but it's actually not true. And I think what I'm learning is, unless you go in with an active plan to be grateful, you will not see things in their reality. You're going to see it as the world's portraying it. And so you do have to be like actively trying to form a mindset of how to see everything as a gift. I'm going to share something. I didn't say this, I meant to, because he's my favorite person in the world, but I love St. John Paul II. I took a class on him in college, and I was changed after that class. And so I'm actually going to share something he said. He writes, it's like a 20-page meditation on givenness. You should read the whole thing, because it's so good. It's on things such as marriage, gift of self, and any other whole nugget thing that James is just known for speaking on. So I'm just going to cut into a little bit, and it might not make first sense because it's like cutting in. But he had just been talking about the innate strivings for beauty and communion, and the desire to live for these things in each human. It starts here. These strivings of the human soul that are associated with longing for the beauty of the human person and the beauty of communion come up against a certain threshold. Man can stumble at this threshold. Instead of finding beauty, he loses it and begins to create only artificial substitutes. Man can clutter up his civilization with these substitutes. I'm skipping down quite a bit because I just wanted to preface that. He proceeds to explain why it's not something to be scared of, that this threshold isn't unbeatable, that the great saints have definitely climbed over it before. So then he says, how are we to cross this threshold? I would say that we must cross it by following our conviction that God gives man to man, and in giving man, he gives him the whole of creation, the whole world. When man discovers the disinterested free gift that the other human person is to him, it is as if he discovers the whole world in that other person. It's important to recognize that it can happen that this gift ceases to be free and sincere in the realm of the human heart. One man can become the object of use to another. This is the utmost threat to our civilization, especially to the civilization of a materially rich world. A fair-minded, loving fondness is then replaced by the urge to take possession of the other and use him. Such an urge is a great threat not only to the other, but especially to the person who succumbs to it. Such a person destroys within himself the capacity to be a gift, and thus destroys the capacity to live by the precepts of to be more a man, or in our sake, just living out our female identity to the greatest capacity we can. He succumbs rather into the temptation of living to possess more and more pleasures, more experiences, more sensations, fewer real values, less creative suffering for good, less readiness to sacrifice self for the good and beauty of humanity, less participation in redemption. So I wrote like holy cow down, because that's crazy. And I think he's talking about it in the sense of the gift of man to man, but this could be anything that the Lord's giving to us. That the minute that we stop seeing it as something that the Lord has given us freely, and as something that's intended to be cherished, but if we then replace that fondness, that loving, cherishing, with just this sense of this urge to be possessive and to have more and more and more. I think that really hit me, that it's like, wow, I mean, down to the point where it can really inhibit me to be able to participate in the redemption of the world. My redemption, but in my redemption, just also the redemption of others. So, I don't have a bunch of tips for gratitude, actually, because I have admitted being very bad at it. But there are some things that I have heard before, and I've been trying to practice all my life. And I will share those because those are good advice. The first is to practice receiving instead of being in a spirit of grasping. So I think what that kind of means is I think that we are either in a position, in a posture of receiving when the Lord's giving us something, or we're trying to grasp onto something. And I don't think what that says is that it's not good to ask the Lord to make good on our desires or to tell the Lord what we want. That's not what's happening. But what he is saying is be receptive and be submissive to whatever he does with your giving in the end. So the first is receive instead of grasp. The second is to thank God in advance. This is actually a quote from Father Thomas Casey, who I think is a blessed. I'm actually not sure where he's at right now, but he used to always say that, and I think that the more you can entrust the future to the Lord, the more you're going to be able to be grateful for what you have right now. The third is to pray with and thank the Lord for your weaknesses. As I said before, that night that I prayed with and over my body, this is one of the greatest sins, kind of the most recurring sin and lie that I live with in my life. And that was one of the most revolutionary nights I had in terms of my mentality shifting. Kind of the glory story at the end of that run with Grace is that I can say, Grace, I've actually been experiencing a very different reality than I have been before. Not to say I struggle still, but so to really thank the Lord for your weaknesses. I think in Romans, I don't remember what chapter, but he says, my power is made perfect in your weakness. And so I think it's just important to be bringing those weaknesses to him and to thank him, because it's an area where we can continue to invite the Lord in. The last tip that I have is actually service. Doing hard things, I think, often reveals, just in general, how much we have. Doing things that are outside of our comfort zone and doing things for people who have significantly less. You think of, all the people that have gone on these Mexico mission trips with Debbie, or just help at home clinic with Natalia and all those things. I think what we don't, when you're in the habit of doing less and less for yourself, you have a greater capacity to actually be grateful for what you have. And one of my goals this Thanksgiving season and into Advent, it's nice how it kind of lines up that way, is to actually at least do something, at least once or twice a month, to do something not for myself, and in the form of service. So whether that's with the clinic, with Natalia, soup kitchens, collecting food, and there's a lot of food collections and things like that. I think just so long as you are taking the time to do things that help you put in perspective just how much of a gift your life is. Okay, so those are kind of the tips. I'm gonna end kind of with a quote from JP2, and then we're gonna actually have Father bring out the sacrament or the Eucharist. This is another JP2. I think that every man, whatever his station in life or his life's vocation, must at some point hear those words which Joseph of Nazareth once heard. Do not be afraid to take Mary to yourself. Do not be afraid to take means do everything to recognize that gift which she is for you. Fear only one thing, that you try to appropriate that gift. Appropriate meaning to take something for one's own sake. This is what you should fear, that you would take something for your own sake. As long as a gift remains a gift from God himself to you, you can safely rejoice in all that that gift is. So I think that's kind of just what the ending thing that I want is that we shouldn't be scared to really rejoice in the things that the Lord has given us. But what should scare us is if we're not recognizing it, right? I mean, as the other quote was even mentioning, it's so much bigger than just saying thank you or not thank you. It's really about participating in my own redemption story. It's about being a vessel of Christ in the end.